Hello everyone and welcome along to another night in the TGP series. We are here for rounds 15 and 16 here at Italy and Singapore, and we've got two races around the Monza circuit and the Marina Bay Street circuit coming into tonight. So Don will be joining me in the commentary box tonight. Hello Don.
Hello, good evening everyone. 4 weeks to go then. Cal still leading the way, but the chasing three are all closed that gap last week, didn't they? It all seems to be setting up for a thrilling climax this season. Tonight we've got the shortest and the longest races of the calendar, Italy and Singapore. 3 minutes to go here in qualifying. Matt Tibbles currently the quickest time, but just fractionally ahead of Dan the Man. Aiden and 9 looking close too, but yeah, looking pretty tight at the moment with 3 minutes to go. Kyle will stop no higher than 8, the championship leader. So that's not what he needed at all. He will start no higher than P8. That's the 4th row of the grid at best. A lot of drivers will still get their final runs in, so that's not what Kyle needed here as he tries to defend this championship lead. He has a 39-point lead at the moment over Dan the Man. The top 3 all with 2 wins each this season. Kyle on 198, Dan 39 back, Corey 42 back, and then Matt Tibbles, in fact, more wins than any of the top 3 in 4th in the championship. 54 points back, so 54 points then the difference between the top 4 in the championship with 4 more weeks to come. But Matt Tibbles currently on course for another pole position this season. He's had quite a few. 4th in the championship, still with a realistic chance of taking a second title in the top tier. Of course, a pole position here for Matt Tibbles would move him, in fact, up a place in the top 10 poles list. Currently equals 7th with Kenny. A 34th here would move him up a place in the order. So Matt Tibbles then, currently the quickest time so far. We've got Corey, currently P5, will want to improve on that lap time. He had a bit of a mistake earlier on in the session, and I can report that we've got a full wet race ahead of us, so do not miss this one. It is going to be an incredibly tight race, and now we've got rain in the air too to make it even more exciting. But Corey now is starting his final lap of the session with 2 minutes to go here. John is currently in P4, we'll be very happy with that. Aiden Griffins will be very, very happy with P3. Seems to have struggled so far this season on this game, but that's currently P3 for him, so the Racing World driver doing well. Phil Bardwell and Knighton starting at the back of the grid in this race. Machine Fishy, Jack Hickey and Waves all yet to get lap times in. Corey so far is down fractionally in his first split, but it's still a good time. He lost his time before in the 3rd sector, so if he can find the time there, this should be a lap that can put him a little bit closer to Matt Tibbles and Dan the Man, who currently lead the way 1st and 2nd. With a 118.8 as just over a tenth or 2 tenths behind Matt Tibbles' 118.8. The pole time in TGP2 was a 119.1, so in fact that's pretty close, isn't it? Just 3 tenths of difference between the 2 tiers. Owen's time in TGP2 as Corey runs wide and validates his lap time, and he will not be improving this time around. Will he have time on fuel for one more run? That is not what he needed in this session. Waze Kuba coming around the final corner. He's about to finish, I think, his lap time, or maybe even start his next one. Crosses the line, and it is to start his lap. So let's focus on the drivers who are currently up at the front. I think Dan the Man is on a slow lap according to my timing data. He's 4.2 down apparently. Matt Tibbles coming through now down the back. I have lost my timing data, so please do bear with me as I try to work out who is on out laps and who are about to start the laps. Matt Tibbles round the final corner, is this to start or finish a lap? 118.8 is currently the benchmark from himself. He crosses the line and goes even quicker. 118.5. He's round 3 tenths. So what can Dan the Man do? Dan the Man is starting one more time run. He just got across the line in time with 3 seconds to spare. In fact, he takes a toe off Matt Tibbles ahead, so Matt Tibbles might just have given his teammate, his rival here, an advantage. Jack Hickey looking good for P3. His session is done. He will not be setting another lap time. Aiden is improving in P4, but John is 5 tenths quicker. Coming around the final corner now. The Alfa Romeo driver looking very good as J. Luke puts his Williams up onto the 2nd row. P4 provisionally. The drivers now completing their final laps in the session. Waze will not get a lap time in. Johnners crosses the line. Can he improve on that P6 at the moment? He goes 2nd. What a lap from Johnners. The Alfa Romeo driver goes into the 2nd spot. And that's not what Dan the Man needed. He's down now into P3. But he does have one more lap in his sleeve, as does Aiden Griffins. And Corey has gone again. Corey round the final corner. He runs very wide, but it won't be invalidated. It will count. Can he put that Mercedes a little bit higher up than P7? It is P5. But now he starts on the 3rd row, just outside that top 4. Aiden Griffins now, I think, is going to be one of the next big ones to cross the line. Dan the Man will be after him. Aidan Griffiths, what can he do? Currently down in P8, needs to find a bit more time. 1/10 will put him up 3 places, and he goes up 3 places into P5. The Racing Point driver will be happy with that. He's out-qualified his teammate for the 2nd race in a row, so good news for Aidan Griffiths. Dan the Man then. Is this going to be the pole time? Is it going to beat Matt Tibbles' 1:18.5? The Ferrari driver crosses the line and goes 2nd. A 10th off the pace. Matt Tibbles is safe. It is a 34th career pole position. Unless Mr. Chiapelli, who hasn't scored a point all season, can do something. He is the final driver to finish their lap time. Kong Hoffner has invalidated. Here's he returns to the pit lane. We've got a Renault at the front and a Renault down in 13th. Mr. Chiapelli is done. So Matt Tibbles does take pole position. What a lap time from him. Once again showing he has the pace on qualifying. That time just under a 10th clear of the Ferrari of Dan the Man. Machine Fishy and Alfa Romeo will be happy to see them occupy the 2nd row. John is joining him in P4. There's a Racing Point crashed on the start finish line. That's the AI cars. Not quite sure what to do with the drivers. It's an all Racing Point 3rd row of Aidan and Jack Hickey. As the Jack Hickey has 4 wheels back on his car for the race. But look at that. Championship leader Kyle starts P11 outside the top 10. Crucially, that means he will get a new fresh set of tyres for the race. Not that it matters. It's a full wet race, so yeah, not the qualifier that Kyle was after. 9/10, about almost a second off the pace of his championship challengers. Kyle had this season for so long, but suddenly, the last couple of weeks, it just seems like maybe he's starting to lose a bit of drift on this championship, because Matt Tibbles, Dan the Man, are both catching him very quickly. Matt Tibbles, Dan the Man, 9/10 quicker than their championship rival. But what will race day bring? We have a full wet race. All the drivers did set the laps on the soft tyres in that session, well aware they didn't need to use the mediums. There was no point, as I'll be starting on the full wets come race day. Grid, I have to say. Dan the Man, of course, last week claimed his 63rd career race victory when he won last time out at Spa. Fantastic race that was. Do watch that back if you've not seen it. But that means he's now just 2 behind Benelez in the all-time top 10 list, and you can see the rain pouring here at Monza. It's all set up very nicely for an entertaining race. The rain has given us so many great races so far. We saw it in Belgium, we saw it in Zandvoort. The 2 best races of the season both had changeable conditions. I think this one's going to be full wet throughout. But with rain in the air, anything is to be expected. So the drivers then just doing their final preparations for the race. What do you do with the front wings? What do you do with the ride height? Will the drivers be tweaking anything of what they can tweak as we prepare to go racing here at Monza? It's the 15th round of the season then. The title's really getting tense now. It's lights out of Monza. And away we go. It's a drive-through penalty ready for Jake for jumping the start. It's a disaster for him. Matt Tibbles for now does hold the lead, but Dan the Man is looking racy. In fact, it's a very slow start from Dan the Man. Machine Fishy up to P2 already. Jonas is down to 7th already. The Alfa Romeos, one getting a great start, one getting a terrible start, but Dan the Man trying to get that 2nd place from Machine Fishy. We've got the 2 Racing Points looking racy behind. Corey muscling his Mercedes through the order, back up now to P3. Dan the Man's had a disastrous start, but Matt Tibbles with the perfect start. He needed to 6th in front, and he's done just that. The Renault driver pulling a 2nd clear already on the drivers behind. Machine Fishy crucially up into P2, not in conditions that he normally likes. Corey into P3, Dan the Man in 4th. Kyle, the championship leader, is already up to P7. He's gained already 4 places on this open lap. Mr. Chiapelli is out of the race, and that's going to be a safety car. A safety car immediately out here at Monza. What drama.
Yeah, definitely is. Big drama early on in the stages here at Monza. Safety car for an instant, looks towards the back of the field. We've got Chiapelli out of the race. John's out, left the session. And yeah, it's chaos further down the field, isn't there, Dom?
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. Mr. Chiapelli out again, yet to score a point this season. Doesn't seem to be working out for him, unfortunately. But yeah, that is Lucas Chiapelli's race already out. A Mercedes of Corey gained a great start. 4 places gained, as did Kyle, as I mentioned before. So Kyle and Corey crucially gaining the places, but down the line it was a disastrous start. Just didn't seem to get off the line. Machine Fishy jumped him initially, and then Corey took him in, I think, to turn 3. Great start from Corey and Kyle.
Yeah, great start indeed. Meanwhile, Kong Hoffner further down the field, I think he was one of the drivers caught up in that incident, has also picked up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. So not a good start to the day for him here in Italy. Going to have to say, I don't think we'll see anyone coming into the pits during this, apart from the ones with damage, just because the wet tyres will make the full race distance, won't they?
They should do. I think Jack Hickey will need a repair of his front wing. He had a bit of contact, I think, at the start. I think maybe he just tapped his teammate, maybe after turn 2, so that racing point will be coming into the pit lane. Risky might also be joining him. So a couple of cars here can pit for new front wings. I think Risky Racer has crashed in the pit entry. So the Haas driver misjudged it, I think, and is out of this session, so that's not what he needed. But yeah, a few drivers choosing this opportunity to pit for new front wings, or maybe just for a fresh set of wet tyres. Not that it really matters, I don't think, but you might as well get the back anyway. No one going on to the intermediate tyres, but the safety car now has caught with a pack on this second lap.
Yeah, a bit of embarrassment there down at Haas. It actually reminds me of a couple of incidents that one of their drivers in real life, Romain Grosjean, has had under safety car. The Baku 2017 one comes to mind. Also, on the formation lap in the wet in Brazil, he binned it in 2016. So, not too uncommon for the Haas to be binning it in unusual situations, but risky. Not too proud about that, and he's probably going to be pretty red-faced about it.
Yeah, I think he will. Not what he needed, but we've got 2 cars out already then. And second lap of Monza. We don't think the rain's going to clear up, but this does give the opportunity that it might get lighter, with the race now being delayed by a few minutes. This is the shortest race of the year here at Monza. We've got the longest race around Singapore coming up later on. Join us for that one. But yeah, it's a crucial start then. So Matt Tibbles leading the pack, and Matt Machine Fishy, who doesn't do well in these conditions normally, up into P2.
Yeah, he is indeed. I think the safety car will be staying out another lap, so there is sort of a dryish line forming down the middle, if you can see it. It's just about, there's a slightly less shiny part of the circuit where all the drivers are currently using, so normally this is a good sign that you can move on to intervals at some point. I don't think any of the drivers are going to jump to it at this stage, but maybe a couple of laps after the safety car, maybe at the halfway point, maybe even slightly towards the end, I can see drivers maybe switching to the inters if the rain stays at this level.
Yeah, I think it's a bit too wet at the moment, but we saw last week at Spa, Andy pitted for the dry rubber, knowing that it was still too wet, but knowing that in a couple of laps' time, the track would dry out, and we saw how well it worked for him. He had a 10-second lead, until unfortunately a second safety car came out and washed away his advantage out front. But yeah, I think it's a bit too wet at the moment. I think it's going to stay like this for quite a while, the heavy rain, so there'll be a fuel to pit for inters now. But I guess you've got the back, you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you said, a bit too early for the time being to pit here under this safety car. We're currently on lap number 3 of the race here at Monza. So Matt Tibos leading Machine Fishy, Corey in 3rd, then we've got Dan the Man in 4th and Aidan in 5th. Just quickly, while we're under this safety car, did you go through the championship standings in qualifying them?
Yes, I went through the top 4. 54 points the difference between Matt, Corey, Dan and Kyle. And Kyle, who leads that quartet, is currently at the back of them all, down in P7. This is a good chance then for Matt, who himself is 4th in the championship, to squash that gap down. Currently 54 points between the top 4. I think that would come down to what, 25 to 6? That would come down by about 19 points if things stay as they are. So we'll now set up nicely with 5 more races to go after this.
Yeah, I'll let you do the mental maths here like we would in our Year 6 stats for those in the UK watching, as we have the safety car coming in this time, and it will be, 9 laps to go around this 5.7 kilometre circuit here at Monza. We've got Dan the Man looking racy, ready for this restart. We've got Matt Tibos backing up the pack, ready to go here for racing here again at Monza.
Keep an eye on Kyle, and he has gone a full wet setup, whereas he believes the ones ahead, the top 5 in particular, have all gone from mixed dry and wet setup to help qualifying order. But Kyle did go full wet, which explains his poor qualifying. So watch him on the restart. Already gained 4 places off the line. Wes Cooper gained 10 places in 8th, but I think the driver's about to go racing now.
Yes, and it's going to be a similar situation to Mugello in real life, where the leader's just going to try and back him up for as long as he can. And now he's released himself, and he's going to be away through the parabolica, and the safety car has restarted. Kyle's picked up a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags, so that's not ideal for him as they fling themselves onto the main straight.
Yeah, Kyle, not what he needed. I'm sure he'll get that appealed after the race, but it looks like Matt Tibbles will hold that lead going into turn 1. He's kept a good gap to Machine Fishy, 5 tenths should not be an issue. It's down the man getting very squirmy in the background, racing Corey ready for P3. He won't find a way through there. Almost lost the back end of that Ferrari. Having to defend now from Maiden behind, but yeah, down the man. I thought for a moment we were about to spin it round on the grass there.
Oh, and he has got a tank slapper coming out of the first chicane, and that's going to leave Aiden all over the back of him. They're going to be side by side through the Curva Grande. Aiden on the slightly less damp part of the circuit, so Dan has not got as much grip, but he's still hanging on for the moment around the outside, and Aiden has just about got the position up into P4.
Not what Dan the man needed. P5 at the moment. He's dropping down places, and now Kyle, the champions leader, is just 2 positions behind him. Kyle has the first clear his teammate J-Luke. These two had a bit of a blow in Belgium last time out, so I'm not sure J-Luke will be rushing to help Kyle this time round. But yeah, Dan the man dropping back 3 places already, and Corey now closing up on the back of Machine Fishy. Meanwhile, Knighton has gained 2 places already at the restart, passing Hickey and Andy, who's dropped a place himself. His Speed Iceman dropped a place to JD as well.
I think he's lost 2 places. Knighton's got past him as well. Good restart there from Knighton. Kong Hoffner going to go around there 3 wide, I think. Yes, they are 3 wide into Ascari. Phil Bardwell and Kong Hoffner and Waves 3 wide into Ascari, and Kong Hoffner ends up the winner of that.
Brilliant stuff. The 3 drivers, just the track seems to get narrower and narrower, but they managed to find the room. Phil Bardwell has dropped a place to Kong Hoffner. Kong Hoffner getting through on the Rebel driver. Now Jake looking to get racy behind him. The 2 Rebels almost going side by side into the final corner. No room there, boys. But Phil Bardwell, yeah, unfortunately, doesn't seem to have the pace in these tricky conditions. Now holding on to a point as JD gets very close behind him.
And meanwhile, J. Luke is going closer and closer to the back of Dan the man in Ferrari. He's getting closer and closer. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough to make a move into the first chicane. He actually gives him a little love tap on the back of him, gives him a little slap on the arse, and they get going again out the exit, but no move this time from J. Luke.
This is brilliant stuff. The top 4 in the championship. Corinius 4th, who leads 3rd, 2nd, and then downwards in that 4 order. So this is going to close the gap up very nicely as things stand. But Kyle needs to clear his teammate. He can see down the man, Matt Tibbos and Corey pulling away ahead. Can he clear J. Luke here?
He can. That's what he really needs to do. Kyle, like you said, he's using the wet setup, so he'll be looking to get past his teammate. Like you've already said as well, they came to blows in Belgium, so they don't want to repeat that as much as they really don't want to. I would say Claire Williams, but it's not Claire Williams anymore. I can't remember the name of the bloke who now is the team principal at Williams, but he would be tearing his hair out if he had any, if they collided again. And there's another safety car. Sorry about that. I missed that completely. Not sure quite sure what I thought. Oh, Kong Hoffner's got off actually. That's what's happened. He's got off with the second Lesmo.
Lost the back end of the second Lesmo, I think lost it by himself. These conditions proving really tricky for the drivers. He's now the 3rd casualty from this race, and that does bring out a second safety car. Again, I don't think we'll see anyone diving to the pit lane for new tyres. You don't really need to in these conditions, so the leading drivers will all stay out, but the drivers at the back can now pit for any potential damage they have, or maybe a fresh set of wets, to go to the end of this race.
Yeah, well, I think if you're maybe at the back, you might want to pit for a fresh set of wets and see what happens. If you're at the back anyway, get those new sets of wets on and see if you can do anything. You've not got anything to lose. As you see, Iceman actually pull into the pit lane as we speak. So he's one of the guys that's taking the risk. I think I'm going to see Knighton dive in as well, running last place. Well, I'm just going to keep an eye on him quickly as he comes around the parabolica. I think he's stayed out. Yes, he has. So Iceman is the only one who's coming to the pits, and of course he has a 5-second penalty for that.
Yeah, so Nine actually pitted the lap before. I think he had damage at the safety car restart, so this will help him massively. He can now bunch up to the back of the pack again and go racing once the safety car comes in for the second time. We should get about 7 laps to go at the end of this race, 6 or 7. But this is good news for Nine Iton, who can now, as I said, join the back of the pack and get racy once again. But Matt Tibbos, if he can get the perfect start like he did last time, he should be in pretty safe hands. But Fishy, looking racy, looking for his second win of the season. Can he do something about Matt Tibbos' Renault?
He will indeed. So, like we said, we're under safety car here again. Lap number 6 here at Monza, out of 13. Matt Tibbos still leading the race from Fishy, Corey, Aiden now in 4th after getting down the man quite early on in that short little run between the 2 safety car periods. And Dan the man's in 5th. J. Luke in 6th. Then we've got Kyle in 7th. John in 8th. Phil Bardwell in 9th. And Jake Davis rounded out the points as we stand.
Yeah, so Waves will be looking for his first points of the season. He's gained 7 places already up to P11, but still somehow outside that top 10. He will want to get his point score and tally started soon. It's not been the best season for him, unfortunately, the Haas driver. But it's just 1 place back now. If he can get Jake on the restart or in the next 7 laps, a good chance he could get that point here. We're going to have 1 more lap under the safety car, I believe.
We are going to have one more lap under the safety car. Iceman in that pit stop went onto the wet tyres, so no one's taking the risk to maybe go onto those inters. Like you said, it's very wet still. Actually, it does do this thing on this game where sometimes where it's heavy wet, you can actually be on the inter tyres because it is slightly quicker. Wet tyres are when it's absolutely chucking it down, monsoon conditions normally. That's mainly what they use for on this game, so I'm surprised no one's maybe taken the risk at the back of the field, but maybe they're thinking, it's too much of a risk at this stage.
Yeah, I think you're right. I can say actually the points gap now would be very close if things stay as they are. You'd have Matt Tibbles on 169, Dan the Man on 169, Corey on 171, so just 2 points between those three. And then Carl would still continue to lead, but the gap he'd have between the drivers behind would be down to just 33 points. So 33 points is currently the gap that would separate the top four in the championship. So I don't want it to stay as it is, but if it does, won't be against it.
No, it wouldn't be against. Well, it'd definitely make it more spicy in the championship as we get ready to go. Surely the safety car will be coming in this time round. Kong Hoffman's car has been picked up by a snatch tractor most likely and removed from the gravel trap at the exit of the second Lesmo. Drivers just sort of pacing themselves. It means Matt Tibos has got to do another restart as well. And on a circuit where slipstreaming is so vitally important, that's not really what you want to do. Like we've seen in Mugello, it could lead to disaster, but I think these drivers are more than capable of avoiding that as the safety car is coming in this time round.
Matt Tibos had the perfect restart before. He was very smart with how he approached. It looks like it might be getting a little bit drier out there. It's still raining, but maybe it's raining lightly. Maybe it's just my eyes. But for a second, I thought it was getting a little bit lighter. I don't think it is actually. On second thoughts, but
I think it is actually getting a little bit lighter. You know, right?
Well, we could then see drivers pit for intermediates in the closing laps of this race, as you predicted earlier. But what Matt Tibos did now? Will he go for the same approach?
He's gone.
Will he race a bit earlier?
He's gone. He's heading towards the Parabolica now. He's shot off actually quite early this time round. And heading into the Parabolica, he's going to lead across the line. Anyone looking racy behind? I think Phil Bardrell's actually looking very racy on the back of Sean for P8 on this restart. And Machine Fishy is actually looking very racy at the front of the field. He's all over the back of Matt Tibos. Side by side, they're going to be into the first chicane. Matt Tibos defending to the inside. We've got Fishy on the outside in the Alfa Romeo. Side by side into the braking point. I think he's going to try and squeeze him, Matt Tibos. Side by side, bouncing across the sausage curb, and they're still going to be side by side on the exit through Curva Grande, but I think Matt's just about going to hold on for the time being. Yes, he is.
Brilliant stuff from the front two. Also, Aiden was getting racy with Corey for third and fourth as Machine Fisher has another chance now to get through. Matt Tibbles almost pushing him around the corner. He's not going to find a way through here now. Matt Tibbles will go through the middle part of the track and keep it through the chicane, but J. Luke has jumped down the man for P5.
Well, they're still side by side as it stands at the moment. They're going to be side by side on the exit, heading towards the first Lesmo. And I think Dan's just about going to hold on round the outside. Yes, he is. Keeps the position and maintains P5. But Dan looking like a bit of a roadblock in this race now. Aiden got past him quite quick.
Yeah, it was good defending from Dan. Carl's going to have another chance on Jay. Luke and Joe's going to have a great chance on Dan the Man at the moment if he can get him into this next chicane. But Dan the Man needs to make sure he finishes in the points this race. He can't afford to spin out and lose the points he has at the moment. Dropping a place or two will be a lot better than just spinning out and crashing out. Dan the Man is struggling at the moment in that Ferrari, but he cannot afford at this late stage of the season to cost himself any haul of points here. And here's Jay Luke with another chance for Dan the Man into the far corner.
He's probably going to wait till after Parabolica to go for a move. So he's going to try and get himself a really good exit out of this long sweeping final corner. The Parabolica is going to use all his overtake on the exit. Dan will probably be doing the same in front of him, and then he's going to try and slipstream him. Dan actually looks like he's running quite a lot of wing, so maybe that's half the reason why he's struggling in the straight line.
We go for a move around the outside of the turn one, not quite enough room. Ginger Andy has put a great pass on the background and needs speed 9, but Andy's now being repassed by them. Three drivers side by side. Andy had originally taken speed 9 for P11, but the two speed boys came back at him. They bang wheels. Running out of road there, Ginger Andy.
Heading to the outside of Dan, He's going to go side by side into the second chicane. What is he going to do? I think he's going to have the move done. Yes, he is. They're still going to bang wheels through it, and he's going to get past just about on the
exit. And what's Kyle behind?
Kyle's flying through as well on the first Lesmo. Is he going to get the move done? Don't think he is. Well, Dan's run massively wide, and Kyle's actually got the move done. So both Williams have got the Ferrari of Dan the Man in two corners, and Dan's turned into quite a disastrous race for him.
So the Williams drivers have now been released. They can now start to hunt down the top 4. 2 seconds of difference between the top 4 and then back to J-Luke and Kyle 5th and 6th. Dan the Man really struggling here. Can he get to the end of the points position? He's going to have Jonathan Field right on the back of him very shortly now. Dan the Man just seeming to struggle. That Ferrari driver not finding the grip at the moment. Unfortunately for him, 9 did get up to P11 before in that battle. Waves has dropped back a few places down to 13th now. But Machine Fishy and Corey are sticking with Matt Tibbers out front with 4 laps to go now.
Yeah, 4 laps to go indeed, and that, like we're saying...
Oh, Matt Tibbers has lost it, he's crashed onto the pit entry, he's out of the race!
Oh,
I can't believe it!
Wow, the race leader has binned it! Absolutely not what he needs for a potential title challenge. Machine 50... Fishy? Oh god, I can't even speak now, so much excitement happening. Machine Fishy is now the race leader, Corey in second, Aiden in third.
How many times have we seen this? Matt Tibbers crashing out in a comfortable position. He just seems to lose it at the worst possible moments. He was looking for a great haul of 25 championship points. He was going to hunt down that gap that was so big at one stage to Kyle. But now, all of a sudden, he's going to lose points to Kyle. The Williams driver up to P5. He's cleared Dan. He's cleared Matt. And now only Corey's ahead of him of the chasing championship challengers. So Matt Tibbers' disaster will score nothing. Despair for the Renault driver. That is the last thing he needed so late on into this season.
Yeah, and now probably the closest battle on the circuit is actually the battle for the lead. Corey is now all over the back of Machine Fishy. He's going to try and get a good run down this straight and heading towards the Ascari chicane. Don't think he's going to be quite close enough realistically to make a move into this chicane. So you have to wait and watch out and maybe make a move into the first chicane.
So this Aidan Griffin's now up into the podium places, but J-Luke is now just 7 tenths behind him. I think a matter of time before he catches the back of him and makes a move. The Williams driver now finally finding some pace, but Kyle 2 seconds back from his teammate, so seeming to struggle himself despite the full wet setup in P5. Dan the Man will now look to at least gain some points on Matt Tibbers and lose only 2 to his championship rival Kyle. But yeah, that's the last thing we need. We're going to have a great race now, hopefully, between the front drivers. Machine Fishy looking good for a potential second win of the season. His last win came at France. Corey hasn't won since the opening week, but he is chasing the championship, looking to defend his crown. For now, seems to be sitting too far back. The gap is currently around 42 points behind Kyle, but he will gain a few here if he can get that Mercedes to the end of this race.
Yes, meanwhile J-Luke is now all over the back of Aiden for the podium spot, just setting the fastest lap of the race on that last lap. We've got 3 laps to go here at Monza, so he's got a bit of time to try and get himself onto that podium in the Williams. Aiden does look like he's struggling a bit. He had a bit of a slide coming out of the second chicane there, and J-Luke is less than 4 tenths behind him.
Kyle seems to have just settled for P5 at the moment. We've got Corey now 2 seconds back from Fishy, so maybe he has just settled for P2. Maybe he knows it's not worth doing what Matt did, pushing too hard, and Matt wasn't under much pressure. He had about a second gap to Machine Fishy. I was about to say he'd pulled a second on his rival, but then as I was about to say that, he spun off and crashed onto the pit entry, lost the back end of the car. The Renault driver scoring no points here, the Renault team scoring no points, but yeah, Kyle setting one for 5th as J-Luke, his teammate, tries to race Aiden for that final podium place here.
Yeah, he is. He's getting closer and closer to the back of him. He's going to save his overtake for the main straight, which is the best overtaking spot on this entire circuit, down into the first chicane. He needs to get a good exit out of here, and he looks like he has got a decent-ish exit. A bit of a slide there, actually. And no, he hasn't. Just as he's saying, we've got a good exit, he hasn't there. And I think Aiden's going to be safe for the time being.
Aiden is now just as close to Corey as J-Luke is to Aiden.
As well, and it's Jake Davis retiring from the race.
Ginger Andy about to make a move on Waves for P12. These two now fighting for what is the last positions in this order, with already now 5 casualties from this race. Can Andy get that McLaren up into P12? Waves seems to have some good straight line speed. The Has driver pulling clear at the moment. Will Andy go for a late move?
J-Luke on the overtake, looking to the outside of Aiden, going into the second chicane. He's going to be side by side. He's going to get the move done actually before the chicane. J-Luke up into 3rd, Aiden back down to 4th place.
Brilliant stuff, racing throughout this field here at the back, at the front, in the midfield. Corey is now 3 seconds back from Machine Fishy. Machine Fishy looking good to take his second win of the season here. It's not been the perfect season for him, but a couple of wins will not be the end of the world. But yeah, now what can J-Luke do now that he's passed Aiden? Can he close to the back of that Mercedes driver and pass Corey and help his teammate out in this championship fight, as Andy has been repassed again by Waves? Those two still scrapping for P12 and P13.
Aiden hasn't quite given up the fight yet. He's still all over the back of that Williams. He's going to try and keep with him as he makes a charge to the back of Corey, that Williams driver. J-Luke is actually closing quite quickly on the Mercedes in front of him. Oh, Corey, so maybe a P2 is on the cards for J-Luke in this race.
Yeah, Jack Hickey also tried to put a move on Phil Bartrell just moments ago, but just couldn't quite get close enough. We got racing throughout this field, fantastic to see, but it is the battle at the front that seems to be the hottest at the moment. J. Luke and Aiden now chasing Corey for the podium places. Who will be the drivers on the podium come the end of the race as they start their final laps?
Yeah, starting the final lap indeed. We've got Corey chasing down the Mercedes in front of him. Any moves happening maybe further down the field. We've got Jack Hickey all over the back of Phil Bartrell, but I don't think he's going to be quite close enough to make a move into the first chicane. No, he isn't. I think that's pretty much it. They're the main battles on the circuit, or the main battles that mean anything, like points paying positions. Meanwhile, we've got J. Luke pounding down Corey in the Williams. Mercedes versus Williams, both got the same engine in the back of the car, but it looks like the Williams driver's definitely got the pace today.
Indeed he does. 5 places gained from the start of this race. The Williams drivers did not seem to set the pace in the dry and qualifying, suggesting it did go for a wet approach, a wet strategy. Yeah, Corey has gone wide. You can see just in front of J. Luke. J. Luke is now right on the back, and this is the closest he's been all race. The gap 2 tenths. Can he get a move down now? Here, it's going to be very close between the Mercedes and the Williams drivers. Corey looking to defend that P2. He doesn't want to give it away. He needs these points for the championship. Kyle J. Luke will go for the inside, and he'll pull a fantastic move up the inside of Corey. Nicely done.
I just realised Corey's actually got a little bit of front wing damage on his car. Didn't even notice that. He has a tiny bit of front wing damage. J. Luke and Corey are going to be side by side heading towards the Parabolica. I think he's going to settle in Corey now for the time being and maybe try and make a move on the exit. He needs a good exit out of here, but it looks like Machine Fishy is going to come home and take the Italian Grand Prix and a win for Alfa Romeo. J. Luke is just about going to hold on to second place. Corey's going to be third. Then we've got Aiden in the Racing Point fourth, Kyle in fifth. Dan the man will come home in 6th, and we've got Jean in 7th. Jean actually jumps up to 5th thanks to penalties for guys in front. But yeah, that was quite a chaotic race. A lot of decent racing up and down the field, Doc.
Indeed it was. Knighton has passed Jack Hickey at the end to take P10. So Iceman scores a point for 9th. Knighton scores a point for 10th. But yeah, what a race. Full of drama throughout. Matt Tibbles will be head in his hands. I don't think he can quite believe what has happened. He was leading this race, looking like he was going to take a crucial win towards the championship, but instead he scores nothing, and Phil Bartrell awarded driver of the day for his fight through the field to finish P8 from the very back of the grid. I think Fishy did also claim the point, unless anyone stole it from him at the very end, but it is a victory for the Alfa Romeo driver for the second time this season. A fantastic performance from him, kept his head cool, was there to pick up the pieces when the drivers behind made the mistakes, and look at that lap time of 1:30.6, I think was almost 6 tenths quicker than anyone else, so you can't take away the drive from Fishy. After the second stage car, just pulled clear of the rest of the field. J. Luke will be very happy to take P2 in the end. Corey might be satisfied somewhat to take P3. Aiden was 4th, John is 5th. Kyle did beat Dan crucially in the race here, which will help his championship hopes. Speed 9 and Speed Iceman, as I said, claimed the final points in 9th and 10th. Jack Hickey just missed out, as did Andy and Wade. What a race here at Monza. And up next we've got Singapore, so more drama to be expected. I think it's fair to say Matt Tibos will be sick of the rain after that Monza race, but we've got more of it here at Singapore. It's a wet qualifying, and we do expect a dry race, but with the chance of rain also. So a wet night here in TGP1, the 4th last week of the season. We are here. We've had Italy, we've now got Singapore. Still to come this season, we've got Russia and Japan next week. You can see Russia and Japan tomorrow, TGP2. We'll have live coverage of that from 7:25 tomorrow. And of course after that we've got Mexico and America, followed by the final week of Brazil and Abu Dhabi. But here we are, the TGP1, the 34th season, the 16th round of the season. Singapore, this four-way title fight, more twists and turns than anything else we've seen before. This is fantastic stuff from the front four, putting on a show this season. Matt Tibos, Corey 44, Dan the Man F1, and Art Kyle 22, all pushing for their championship. Art Kyle currently leading the way out of those four, and the only one of those four yet to taste a championship success in TGP1.
Yep, indeed, like you mentioned, we're getting wet qualifying here, dry race predicted, as you already mentioned. And I'm going to go on board with Jean-Luc Taylor. He was the first car to come out of this pit lane here at Singapore to tackle these wet conditions. So let's see what a lap is on board of the Yas Marina circuit, the Marina Bay circuit here in Singapore for a lap in the tricky wet conditions. So coming across the main straight, of course, no DRS, but this will normally be the first DRS zone on the circuit. They're down to, what, third gear in the wet conditions for the tricky turn one, tricky complex of 1, 2, 3 there. Need to get a good exit out of 3, and you fling yourself round a couple of kinks into turn number 4. Very tricky corner this. You try to put the power on while the car is actually still turning, and then you got chuck yourself all the way down the back straight with a kink again in the middle, down towards turn number 6, down through a few gears there, turn number 6, and then a few more gears again down to second gear for turn 7. Very tight, and now it's really where it starts getting a little bit more twisty on the circuit. Through again, that's another corner. That was turn 8, another third gear corner in these wet conditions, but you got a little bit of a straight down towards the old Singapore sling. That is turn 9. And then you've got this tricky chicane, actually very tricky chicane, that is 10 and 11. So over the Anderson Bridge and then down to second gear for the hairpin. That flings you out onto the back straight, and this is the final DRS zone in dry conditions normally. Up the gears it goes, 4th, 5th, 6th, and now up into 7th, braking down to about second gear in the Alfa Romeo, and now you're into the really twisty part of this track where the downforce is critical. Through this section, another third gear, second gear switchbacks. So third gear in the dry, second gear in these tricky wet conditions, and now we've got to go under the grandstand now. Quite a unique feature here at this Singapore circuit, under the grandstand, and now he's just got 3 more corners to go on this lap. Through the final couple of corners he goes through this final chicane, and he's just got a quite fast couple of corners to finish off the lap now. Little break down to 4th gear. John is taking on this lap, and what's his lap time going to be? It's going to be a 1 minute 58 to open up the session. Surely guys will go quicker, as Machine Fishy has done. Just behind him, he's done a 166.4.
Championship leader Kyle crosses the line and goes P2, 6 tenths back. That's 1.6 seconds back. I do apologise. I should be a lot closer than 6 tenths. So not the best lap from him so far, but it is a lap that does put him on the board. A lot of drivers have yet to set their first time laps, as John is P3 at the moment. Luca Chiapelli into P4. We've got drivers now coming around the final corner. John Man slots into P4, so that advantage that Fishy has. He said he hated the rain, but both his wins so far this season have come in the rain, and so far he's on pole by quite a margin in qualifying here. And Matt Tibos goes quicker by about 500.
Yeah, Matt Tibos going on to that pole position. It's going to be, what, a 15 lap race in the dry conditions we predict. Here, like you said in the previous race at Monza, this is probably going to be the longest time-wise race of the season here at Singapore.
Ginger Randy on a lap in his McLaren has unfortunately invalidated it, so this will not be a time up. He will go again. He will go once more to see if he can put that McLaren anywhere near the front. He does like the rain, he said before tonight. A few comments have come in through the stream and through Twitter, so let's go through some of these. Softy praised the drive from Fishy at Monza. Question about Mr. Chiapelli. Will Mr. Chiapelli actually score a point this season? Owen, where is the best chance for Mr. Chiapelli to score a point this season? He hasn't got one yet, of course.
This is probably a good shout for him actually if he can keep it tidy, because it can be a race of attrition here at Singapore. We've seen it in TGP2 last week. It was actually the field actually strung out quite a lot because of the many incidents. Not like drivers crashing into each other. It was just having their own misdemeanors, outbreaking themselves and finding themselves in a wall. So if Mr. Chiapelli can keep it tidy in this race, he might have a good shout of some points here. Other than that, I think this maybe Mexico could be a good shout for him if he gets the setup right. That's about it, to be honest. If I'm totally honest with you, he's not really been a points-paying driver at all this season. Well, we haven't got any.
Corey crosses the line for his first time of the session and goes quick as a 1:56.1. A good lap from him. 3/10 quicker than what Matt Tibbs has set so far. That's a good time from the Mercedes driver. But yeah, I think you're right, Mr. Giovanni hasn't scored a point so far this season, and we are 16 rounds into it. I think it's not going to happen. If it was going to happen, we probably would have seen it already. Let's hope he can get a point this season before he returns back to TGP2, the Ferrari then. I think Dan the Man is just starting his next lap. One more question before we quickly go back to qualifying. One question, Zach Stewart says, is there more controversial decision this season than Owen going for the chocolate milkshake last week? Owen, thoughts?
I don't think it's controversial at all. I think you're just don't have sweet enough taste buds, I think, Dom, if you think a strawberry milkshake is better than a chocolate milkshake.
Well, I'm afraid to say that strawberry is much better. Ginger Andy then, currently down in P17, yet to set a lap in that McLaren. Can he put himself up that order? We've got yellow flags out in Sector 2. Not quite sure what that is for. Andy is once again invalidated. So he will now dive back into the pit, surely. Or will he go again, just get some more laps on these wet tyres? Ginger Andy so far struggling, both McLaren struggling, 16th and 17th as things stand, so not good for them. Corey, Tibos and Fishy now either in the pit lane or return to the pits. They'll get 2 more runs hopefully in this session with 10 minutes remaining.
Yeah,
as Jack Hickey goes P2.
Wow, good, impressive drive from Jack Hickey then. Got himself into P2. I was just going to mention there's normally 2 different strategies in these qualifying sessions. There's one in the wet session, shall we say. In one strategy is do basically a normal qualifying strategy, low fuel, 1 lap, come back in, change on a new set of tyres. The strategy I normally do in these wet sessions is chuck a load of fuel in the car and just pound round until you feel a difference in the conditions. Mainly because it gets you used to what the track's like. You can see where all the damp patches are, see where you can push a bit more, and just learn about the conditions as you go around. As the fuel burns down, the lap times will just keep going and get quicker and quicker. As we see Aiden coming through the last couple of corners now on a flying lap, and what's his time going to be?
Aiden Griffin's racing point up where his teammate has managed to get so far. Jack Hickey currently in P2. Where can the second racing point go? Aiden Griffin's crosses the line and goes up to P6. He's on the first 3 rows. He improved his time, not by much, but it is enough to get him into that top 6. Dan the Man was on a lap but has made a mistake. He will go again very shortly. He's just gone around the final sector now, so watch out for him soon. But yeah, that's not a good lap time at the moment from Kyle, currently down in P9, on an out lap, ready to go again.
Yeah, not a good lap indeed from Kyle. Like you said, he's on an out lap. We've got Matt Tibos again on an out lap. Dan's just peeled into the pit lane. Jack Hickey's, I think, on an in lap. So, bit of a lull in the session currently as there's drivers doing different strategies. Most of the TGP1 drivers have gone for this typical qualifying strategy of 1 lap and in, rather than pounding around on high fuel and getting used to the circuit.
And once again, Ginger Andy, for the 3rd time, has invalidated his lap, so he will not be setting a time anytime soon, I don't think. He's appearing to be starting at the back of the grid. What can J. Luke do? About to set his first lap of the session. 2nd place at Monza. Currently P13 here at Singapore. Maybe he's backed off, I think. Or maybe he's getting a bit of a tow from his teammate.
In front of him on an out lap, so it's not ideal for J. Luke as he goes through. I think he's picked up some wing damage as well, actually. Looking at his front wing, yes, he has. He has got some wing damage. I think J. Luke will be heading straight back to the pit lane.
Both Williams drivers coming to pit lane, aren't they?
You say that. Oh yeah, he has. His line was a bit deceptive there.
Both Williams drivers coming into the pit lane, currently down in P9 and P13. They didn't have a great qualifying at Monza. In the end, they both gained points on their rivals in the race, but so far, once again, the system appears to be repeating itself. It's currently 9th and 13th at the moment, as I think now Matt Tibos, Machine Fishy and Corey, the top 3 of the top 4, all out now, ready to start their out laps for their next time run.
Yeah, we've got Aiden currently. I think he's just slowly making his way back to the pit lane. I want to keep an eye on the tyres fitted, and some drivers actually started and maybe looking at potential inter runs. We've got Matt Tibos actually out there on inters now, so the track is definitely drying up. So maybe it's going to be a case of last car across the line is the pole sitter, Dom.
Yeah, you're going to have to be very smart here. Try and cross the line as late as you can. We might see some very slow outlaps as drivers try to be the last driver across the line. If the track is drying out, then you want to be the final car to complete your lap. You will find the time, as long as the track isn't too greasy or not quite at the crossover between the wet and the intermediates. Matt Tibos is a second quicker in the first sector than his previous best, so it's clearly quick enough for intermediates.
Yes, it is indeed. He hasn't invalidated. Ran a little bit wide coming out of turn 7 there, and through turn 8 and 9 he is now in the Renault. I think he's the only driver actually on a flying lap as it stands. I think actually, just as I say that, I think Phil Bardrow is on one as well, and he's, I think, coming towards the end of a lap. Yes, he is. He's coming towards the end of a lap, so he's going to be the first driver to set a time on these intermediate tyres as he goes under the stand. And he's got just a couple more corners to go. Through 20 and 21 he will go through now. He's just got to make his way through turn 22. And what's the lap time going to be? It's definitely going to be probably the quickest time of the session so far, but how much quicker will it be? Crossing the line now, and he's gone 2 seconds quicker. But I expect a bit more from Matt Tibos, who's currently entering that final sector now.
Oh, the driver has to be smart now. Will Phil have enough fuel to get back to the pits? No, we'll stay out and do lap after lap. I think Phil will try to get back to the pit lane now and try and just get out in time for one more final run. I think most of these drivers who have just left the pits now won't have time, I don't think, to get back to the pit lane and come out again for another set of tyres. So if they're out track now, you can see a lot of drivers staying in the pit lane, such as Fishy, Dan, Hayden and Johners. Matt Tibos around the final corner. Can he improve on Phil's 154? He can by about 3 seconds. So Matt Tibos goes quickest. But as I said, he needs to now be quick back to the pit lane if he wants to get one more run in on a drying track. He's not messing around. He wants to get back to the pit lane as soon as he can. There's only 5 minutes left of this session. He should get back to the pits with about 3 minutes to go, so we should just get out in time. But you can see the drivers behind, like Corey, Fishy, Dan, all choosing to stay in the pit lane. There's no need to rush and get out there. They want to be the last drivers across the line to set the quickest times. You can see the pace difference. Phil Bardwell set a 1:54.0. Matt Tibos just 30 seconds later set a 1:51.2. So the pace is coming down at a very quick rate here.
It is indeed. I think Phil Bardrow has gone with the first strategy that we were speaking about, which is one of the strategies I was speaking about, which is chuck a load of fuel in and just pound round. So he's hoping to be the last car across the line by doing this strategy. He's on another flying lap again, and he's going quicker again as the fuel is burning off his car.
Indeed he is, so we'll see now. Mr. Giapelli's gone into P3. That's the highest he's been all season. Still slower than the time of Phil Bardwell, and I don't suspect he'll stay there. All the drivers are now either on outlaps or leaving.
I've just seen it on my tyres fitted, and Sean is apparently going to be going out on softs. So that's a bit of a bold call there from Jean-Luc Taylor. I wonder if that change back.
That would be more controversial than the chocolate milkshake that Owen chose last week over the strawberry milkshake. John is, of course, can choose tyres in the pit lane. Maybe he's just doing it to see. The game does give you some sort of indicator as to what the pace difference is. So maybe he's just flicking between it to see that gap coming down, if it is coming down. And I suspect it is. If John is sticking with those soft tyres for now, I suspect he will go back on to intermediates. But maybe it's worth the risk. It's still raining out there. As Risky goes P2 with a 1:53.7. So lap times now starting to come down. And drivers starting to set their next laps of the session. Speed 9 is 2 seconds quicker than his current best, currently down in P11.
So Jean has actually left the pit lane on those soft tyres, and his teammate Machine Fishy has gone out on the mediums. So they think it's dry enough for slick tyres, just as guys are only just starting to do laps on the inters.
So, Aidan Griffins then is about to start his final lap of the session with just under 3 minutes remaining, so he should get 2 laps in. I hope he's filled up for 2, because if he's only getting 1 in, then it seems a bit pointless to be starting with so much time left in the session. It really is going to be a matter of starting the late lap as late as you can. Matt Tibos is in the pit lane. Will he get out in time to set a final run? Still the Renault driver yet to be pushed out. He needs to be out there soon, otherwise he's not going to get a lap time in. Kong Hoffner has gone P2. He is on a second lap as well. He's improving. He's gone purple in the first sector. Can he find more time in the second and third sectors? The track is definitely getting drier out there, and at quite a quick rate. Currently, Matt Tibos does hold that lead. Speed Risky Racer will be getting 1 more lap in, I think. Phil Bardwell is currently on a lap, but has invalidated it.
Yeah,
Corey.
Like we said. What are you going to say, Dom?
Just going to say Corey's starting his lap.
Yeah, Corey's starting his lap. So we've got pretty much everyone out on Inter's tyres. So everyone else, bar the 2 Alfa Romeo drivers, actually think that the Inter tyres is the best tyre to be on. I probably would slightly agree with them for the time being, just as an outsider looking in. But we never know what the data that they're getting down at Alfa Romeo. It could be the right call at the end of this session.
Hayden Griffins was quicker in the first sector. Has he abandoned his lap? He seems to take that corner very cautiously. No, he's still 2.3 up, so it just looks how slow he is out there with the wet tyres. But Hayden Griffins will, I think, be the first of these big runners to cross the line, so let's stick with him. We'll have Corey coming through not soon after. Jack Hickey will also be starting his final lap. He'll be starting his lap as late as he can. As I mentioned before, the McLaren driver of Ginger Andy is just starting his next lap. Can he finally get a lap in this session? But Hayden Griffiths now, just a few more corners to negotiate. What can he do with that racing point? There's a chance here he can get a pole position. This is where he won his first TGP1 race win many moons ago. What can the racing point driver do here now? Around the final couple of corners, who is the time to beat? I don't think he's going to match that, but he can go into second if he's quick. Just third, just behind Kong Hoffner, and now attention's turned to, I think, Corey, who's currently P9 in the Mercedes.
Yes, he is. He's Corey. He's probably the next one. He's going to have Knighton just starting a flying lap right in front of him as well. So that's going to be a bit tricky for him as he comes through the final couple of corners now in the Mercedes. What's the lap time going to be? It is going to be he's gone second with a 51.5.
I'm not sure if Matt Tillers is going to make it. 35 sessions to go. Tillers is only just, I think, going to get round in time and down the mount. Those two have left it very late, but they should just go to who out there is on laps at the moment. Kong Hoffner is 5/10 up in P3. J. Luke and Kyle will need to set laps quickly. Kyle just managed to get his lap time in. He'll be one of the last runners to cross the line. But I think it is going to be the McLarens of Kong and Ginger Andy who will be the first of these runners to get their final laps in.
It will be indeed. We've got Kong, who's slightly behind actually. I was just looking at the two drivers on the dry tyres and the Alfa Romeos, and boy do they look like they're struggling. So I think it's a bit of a duff call there from the Alfa Romeo drivers, bit of a duff strategy, and I don't know what data they were looking at.
Corey is out of this session. He has gone just 3/10 behind Matt Tibble, but he will not be improving on that. His session is done. P2 at the very best for him. Let's stick with these McLaren drivers. These are the drivers that are currently on their quickest laps. They'll be the next ones to go through the final sector. Ginger Andy will be the first across the line. What can he do? Currently down in P18. Can he improve on that lowly position at the moment? We've also got Kong Hoffner right behind him. Ginger Andy crosses the line and goes up into P10. Kong Hoffner's going to be next across the line. Where does he go? He stays P3. He doesn't improve. What about the Williams of J. Luke? He stays P7. He's not improved either. So then tensions now back to the Racing Point drivers. It will be Hayden Griffins, followed by Jack Hickey. Hayden's quicker at the moment. He's about 2/10 up. Can he find the pace to go ahead of the McLaren of Kong Hoffner? He stays P4. So now Jack Hickey is the next one to cross the line. What can he do in that Racing Point? He crosses the line. Is it in the top 10? He goes P5. A great lap from him.
I think that's everyone on flying laps. Actually, no, we've got...
There's still loads more to come, Aaron. Still loads more to come.
Yeah, sorry about that. I jumped the gun a bit. Sean's out of the session.
Speed Knighton's next.
Yeah, I was watching Knighton now coming through, and he goes up into P11. Got Dan on a fly. We've got Jake Davis on a fly.
Championship leader Kyle, last couple of corners. This is the crucial qualifying for him. He needs to put a good lap in. He's currently starting P17 around the last couple of corners. What can he do in that Williams? It's going to be a quick time, is it? He goes P3. A good lap there from him. A crucial one too.
Yeah, it is indeed. We've got Dan, who's on a flyer right behind Jake Davis. Jake Davis has not set a representative lap time in this session, currently on 2-minute 5-second lap. It's going to be the last two guys to cross the line because Machine Fishy, I don't think, is going to set anything close to what's needed for a pole time. Dan the Man goes first, and Jake Davis gone 9.
Matt Tibbles crucially kept pole position as Dan the Man could only go P3. He was the last driver that could really challenge Matt Tibbles' pole time. So Matt Tibbles once again takes pole position. This time we'll be wanting to convert that one into victory. Let's see what Machine Fishy does on those medium tyres. He spins around the final corner. And that is qualifying done. So Matt Tibbles claims another pole position. Another thrilling qualifying session here in TGP1.
Yeah, I was just going to say to you, that was a 2-minute 35 lap on those medium tyres, so definitely not the tyres to be on in the end. Those dry tyres. Inters was the tyre of choice. As we see, Matt Tibos picks up pole by 2 tenths, then it's a second and a half. So quite a big gap the top two had in the end in this qualifying session. Dan the Man in third, then we've got Kyle in fourth, Kong Hoffner in fifth, Aiden in sixth, then we've got Jack Hickey in seventh, Iceman in eighth, Jake Davis in ninth, and Risky rounding out the top 10. J. Luke in 11th, poor qualifying from him. Phil Bardwell in 12th, Mr. Chiapelli 13th, 19th, Knighton in 14th. Then we've got Waze in 15th, Ginger Andy in 16th, and then the two guys who tried to do laps on dry tyres at the end ended up 17th and 18th on the grid. The back row covered by those Alfa Romeos.
That's 6 poles for the season for Matt Tibos. 4 in a row. He's had poles now at Hungary, Belgium, Italy and Singapore, but still can't seem to put any sort of charge on this championship. That's his 35th career pole, which is now just 4 behind Benalese, a former 3-time champion who is currently 6th on the all-time list. But another great qualifying performance. We've seen so many of them from Matt Tibos. Can he now finally, in the dry conditions, convert this one into victory here at Singapore?
Yeah, just waiting for the guys to make their final few preparations here in this Singapore Grand Prix. Round number 16 of TGP1 Season 34 is due to get away in about 30 seconds time here. And what are your thoughts and predictions for this race?
Well, it should be fascinating to see what Matt Tibos can do from pole position. Can he finally convert it to victory? What approach does Kyle take? I think he's qualified P3, I think, or was it P4 in the end? So he's up there, but what approach will he take with his championship contenders starting around? Will he just get to the end, try and score a podium position? Or will he get racy and fight for the race wins? Only 2 so far this season. If he finishes the season with 2 wins and a championship, there will be the new record for the lowest amount of wins for a title.
Yeah, it will be indeed. So the drivers are pretty much ready to go. We've got 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights and 5 lights here in Singapore. The lights are going out and we are away here at Singapore. And it looks like a decent start from the front row. We'll see how they tussle into turn 1. Corey's going to slot into second, Matt Tibos in third, and there's absolute chaos behind Matt Tibos. There's already got a 3-second corner cut penalty.
Matt Tibos and Corey were going side by side into turn 1. Then Matt Tibos just about lost the back end. Dan the Man's now right on the back of him. It's a great start from J. Luke in the background. Up 5 places into P6 already. He seems to make good opening laps. Dan the Man getting very racy behind Matt Tibos. Matt Tibos having already lost a place to Corey will not want to lose a place to Dan the Man. Kyle is crucially still in P4. He's kept that position. He didn't want to lose any, but he hasn't gained any either. This top 3 though very close at the moment on the opening lap here at Singapore.
Yeah, top 3 very close, and Matt Tibos will not hoping that doesn't stay the case. He needs it to spread out a bit. Already picking up a 3-second penalty. I think that's the quickest penalty we've seen all season, Dom.
Yeah, turn 1, so not what he needed for this race. Unfortunately for him, he's now lost a place and picked up that time penalty. As we see in the background, a few movers. Mr. Chief Halley up to P9. You said this is a chance for him to score his first points of the season. Now into that top 10. Can he finally hold on and take that point?
Up the inside, just as you say that, and he's just about held him off for the time being.
Yeah, Mr. Chief Halley, we want to see him score points before the end of this season. A yellow flag in sector 2. I think Speed Iceman has hit the wall. His own mistake. That's not what he needed here at Singapore. He's not going to score points like that. He'll try and get back to the pits and now hope for a safety car to repair any sort of damage he has at the front. But it is Corey who leads the way. Hasn't won a race since the opening week of the season. It looks so good for him. 2 wins from 2. But since then has yet to taste success. And Corey getting very taily happy in the final few corners here. Almost losing the back end of that Mercedes.
Yeah, Corey setting the fastest lap on that opening lap. That's not surprising. He is the leader as he leads across the line. Corey leads. Matt Tibos in second. Dan the Man in third. We've got Kyle in fourth and Con Hoffner. Good qualifying from him. And he's just going to mention what tyres people are on, because it was a wet qualifying session. People could have the choice of what tyres to start on in this race. And there's a few guys starting on mediums. And there's Andy on hards in 13th place now.
Yeah, Mr. Cipalli also went medium tyres, so watch out for him. He's on the better strategy and already into the top 10, having gained places on the opening lap. Machine Fishy, who started 17th after a poor qualifying, didn't quite get the strategy right, went a bit too dramatic with his medium tyres, I think. He's up, though, already into P10. In fact, he's passed Mr. Cipalli for that final points position.
He has indeed. So we have a few pitters already on this first lap as well. Everyone from 14th downwards has already made this stop in this race. I think they all had their own dramas on that first lap, meaning that there's been a couple of movers and shakers, and probably the big names there are probably the 2 racing points, Dom.
Yeah, I think they are. It's not what they needed. P15 and P18, not to start them. I mentioned before that Aidan Griffins won his first ever race in TGP at this circuit. Unfortunately, it's not going to be a repeat victory for him today. Now, down in P18, not what he needed here at all. But at the moment, top 5 seem to sat with their places, and Con Hoffner is keeping Kyle honest in P4. Matt Tibos still trying to close that gap to Corey.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a gap between the top 3 and Kyle in 4th now, already starting to form. There's about 1.4 seconds. Meanwhile, the train is definitely forming behind the first of the Williams drivers. The championship leader in Kyle. Corey's just set the fastest lap of the race, and DRS is enabled this time round.
Right, so what can the drivers now do about the cars in front? Keep an eye on J. Luke. He is just 5 tenths off Con Hoffner, who has now dropped to just, well, it was just over a second behind Kyle. Whether or not he was a second through the DRS range, but enabled Kong Hoffner, well, might actually get close enough to Carl. Probably not this time round, a little bit too far back to make a dive bomb into this next corner. But yes, drivers now with an extra chance of DRS as Machine Fishy looks to get through on speed 9 for P9. The Alfa Romeo driver wants to clear that AlphaTauri as soon as he possibly can, but it's so tight around this circuit. You've got to pick your moves, but there is more chances of overtake than a track like Monaco.
Yeah, definitely is more chance, or even Zandvoort as well. Zandvoort, you've only realistically got turn 1. You've got about 3 or 4 good opportunities on this circuit to make an overtake. Fishy trying to get up into 9th place after his poor qualifying and that bold strategy call that really didn't pay off for him, meaning he started at the back of the field. Meanwhile, the highest medium runner is Phil Bardrow, and he's just keeping on to this back of the train for 4th, Dom.
Mr. Ciapelli, the second of the medium runners, holding off. Oh, he spun round, he's clipped the wall. That Renault is now facing the wrong way. Jonas goes through into P11, another place gain for the Alfa Romeo drivers, both having gained 7 each now. But Mr. Ciapelli, a bit too excited there around that corner, was looking to defend from Jean, but the back end clipped the wall so easily to do. And now he's spun round and lost 2 places. Ginger Andy also getting through into P12.
Yeah, he definitely got a bit frisky on the loud pedal there, and it's not what he wanted to do. Ciapelli down in 13th. Will he ever score points? Nobody knows at this current moment in time, as we see J-Luke make an early stop to the pits, and Matt Tibos as well.
J-Luke has spared in the pit lane, so all this hard work that he'll get from an undercut will be undone now. Matt Tibos might actually be held as he has to wait. So no, he's not. He's let out just in front, just in time. But J-Luke himself has to slow down. So let the Renault driver pull a bit clear, but into the pit lane they come. The early stops then on the end of lap 4. What they need now is no safety car, because a safety car will allow the drivers in front to dive into the pit lane and gain time under a delta.
Yes, it would indeed. I forgot about Singapore last week in TGP2. I remember I got damage on lap 1 actually, and meant I had to jump onto the mediums early doors. I was just on board with Risky there, and he's lost a bit of his front wing. We've got Mr.
Ciapelli
all over the back of Kyle as well.
Oh, Mr. Ciapelli and Andy side by side. Brilliant racing from these 2 drivers, fighting over P10, the final points position at the moment. Ginger Andy just had nothing to do in the final couple of corners. The traction wasn't quite working for him, but Mr. Ciapelli managed to get the straight line speed and the advantage of DRS. Couldn't quite get it to stick to take the position as a safety car deployed. Exactly what I said could happen. This is bad news for Matt Tibos and J-Luke, who just pitted.
Yeah, it is indeed. They've got to pound round on tyres that have already been... It's probably a bit of a disaster actually for guys like Phil and Machine Fishy as well, who started on those medium tyres, have now got to make them extend to about probably 1 or 2 laps to go in this race to have any shot of getting some decent points.
So I'm not quite sure why there is a safety car. I don't know if there's something, maybe a bit of damage somewhere on the circuit, but I haven't seen anything.
His Risky clipped the wall and he lost a fair chunk of his front wing. But that's the only thing I can think of. All the guys are peeling into the pit lane now, as expected, to get rid of those soft tyres that don't last long at all here at Singapore.
No. Will Phil Bardwell and Mr. Ciapelli choose to stay out, having been on the medium tyres? And indeed they do. Phil Bardwell will take the lead of this race, and I'm not quite sure what you gain from this kind of strategy. I would still come into the pits and maybe go soft, try and stretch them if you can, because of course it will be a few laps less, or maybe just go for the hard tyres. I don't know. Staying out, you're just going to then pit a few laps later and then be 20 seconds behind everyone.
It is a difficult call, I think. The problem is, maybe switching onto the hards might have been his best option, but I think the hards are just... Well, we were seeing with Iceman and Andy looked like he's really struggling on those hards as well. They just don't quite have the grip.
Oh.
Andy's got a drive-through penalty. No, I'm guessing, what have you seen, Dom?
Well, so Andy tried to stop. Andy stopped. He must have missed his delta. He was trying to go very quickly to make sure that he jumped the places, but realised that he was unfortunately just over his delta. So he tried to stop at turn 1 to reduce that delta, and as Corey and Dan were coming out of the pit lane, Mr. Ciapelli has jumped down the mountain, which is bad news for him. Great news for Corey, who can now try to extend a bit of a gap on his rival for the race win. But Ginger Andy, and staying out, and has now picked up a drive-through penalty, and will have to come in within 2 laps anyway. So I don't see what you gain from staying out.
Well, I think I could see why the medium runners stayed out, potentially like Phil and Machine Fishy, so they could try and go softs to the end, because it's probably better off doing that than trying to jump onto the hard tyres. But Andy, I think, really should have jumped into the pits, because the mediums are probably the best race tyre on this circuit.
Yeah, and with Andy's drive-through penalty now, he will not be scoring points here at Singapore unless he get a second safety car. So who has that worked well for then? So Corey will now be the net race leader, but has got to clear 3 cars in front of him. Andy, Fishy and Phil, how far they go? Probably another 3 or 4 laps. Dan the Man now has a car between him and Corey, and then Matt Tibos is right on the back at him. Con Hoffner is ahead of Kyle, so he just jumps the Williams driver. Kyle crucially ahead of his teammate, and John is at P11.
Yeah, he is indeed. We're on lap 5 here of 15 around this Singapore circuit. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting way to play it out. Everyone's onto the medium tyres now, bar Aiden and Waze at the back of the field. I'm not really sure what that strategy call is all about from them two, because those softs barely last 5 laps on this circuit.
Yeah, the Aiden and Waze are actually quite a far bit back. They're going to have to be quick to capture the safety car. We'll have one more lap. As Machine Fishy, does he choose to pit? He doesn't. He was weaving coming into the pit lane. I thought maybe it was going to be a late call to just go onto the soft or the hard tyres. Probably the soft, I guess. The hards are going to be too slow, but then the softs probably aren't going to make it either. But yeah, Waze and Aiden are a bit far back from the safety car back. They might just catch it, but they will have to be quicker than they want to be on these laps.
They will indeed. So like you said, they are really a long way back actually, those back 3 drivers. But luckily they've got a bit of time to try and catch this safety car, staying out another lap. So it'll be about 8 to go when this safety car comes in, because I don't see it staying out much longer than this, Dom.
It should come in at the end of this lap, which will give us about 9 laps of racing at the end, regarding, of course, any other future safety cars. Machine Fishy, though, and Phil Bardwell will lead from the front. Both these runners going long. Andy will be third, but have to come in for a drive-through penalty. Not far into him. He might just take it at the start, because he's going to drop out places and lose more time probably fighting the likes of Corey and Mr. Chiapelli and Dan behind. But yeah, Dan the Man must clear Mr. Chiapelli quickly, otherwise he's going to see Corey, I think, starting off, unless Corey himself gets stuck behind Andy, Fishy and Phil.
Yeah, indeed. So they're just going to pound around behind this safety car. Real big losers, like I said, with Phil Barber and Machine Fishy, because their strategy would probably work best if there wasn't a safety car at all. But I still think it probably is salvageable if there's incidents further down the field. But on what the field spread is. Field spread did quite spread out quite a lot, even, if I could get my words out. Field spread out quite a lot in that Singapore race in TGP2, so maybe we could see the same in TGP1.
I think you're right. I think that might be something that we see in the closing 9 laps of this race, but Corey has to have a good chance here of finally claiming that first victory since the opening week of the season. Hasn't won since Bahrain. Confirmation that the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. Aiden still yet to catch the pack. He's going very slowly behind. He's going to have to be quick, because he's about, what, 3, 4, 5 corners behind this pack, and they're almost about to go racing again.
I don't think he will catch this train. Neither Waze might just about, depending on how much Phil slows it up, but I don't think Aiden will at all.
Yes, that's not the strategy that Aiden wanted. He's racing around to try and catch his pack, but by doing this, he's putting wear into these soft tyres that already are going to struggle to get to the end anyway. So I think Aiden's pretty much thrown this race away with a strategy call to pit again and for soft tyres. But Phil Bardwell about to restart this race. The safety car is just peeling through the last couple of corners now to return to the pit lane. Phil Bardwell will go when he suspects the time is right. Machine Fishy will be getting ready to react. He has good reactions. Fishy, we saw that last season. Phil Bardwell about to go racing again, but Fishy and Andy, watch out for them, and Corey will want to clear this trio very quickly.
He's gunned it coming round turn 22 and 23 on to lap number 7 of this race here at Singapore. Phil Bardwell leads from Fishy in second, and we've got Andy in third. Corey will be wanting to make white hay while the sun shines and pick up a position on Andy, get himself off onto the podium spots as he's the net leader of the race. He's got a car in between himself and Dan, who's probably his nearest. Good for him indeed, as Corey is all over the back of Andy.
Corey all over the back of Andy, Dan the Man all over the back of Mr. Chiapelli. We're about to see 2 moves here, I think, into the next corner. Aiden did catch the pack, by the way. Andy holds off Corey for now. Very well done. He's got that straight line speed, using his ears wisely. Mr. Chiapelli's round wide. Dan the Man with a chance now to go around the outside and take the position. How late will Mr. Chiapelli break? How late will Mr. Chiapelli choose to race this? He needs to not lose too much time himself. He's in a fight, of course. He's got to pit again. He can't afford to lose too much time here. Maybe it's better letting Dan go. Is Corey looking for a move on his hand to Andy and can't quite get it stuck. Yeah, and Dan was sniffing up the inside of Chiapelli. We're going to go side by side through beautiful.
11 and 12. And he's got the move done, and surely he's going to let his teammate pass in Matt Tibos as well. Surely that would be the good call from Renault, considering they're on completely different strategies
and Corey,
and a vast difference in pace. I think that's what's going to happen now. No, there's a virtual safety car.
So, virtual safety car. Corey just about past Andy in time. Not quite sure what the VSC is for. Looks like Speed 9's had a crash further on in the background. This is a chance now for Phil, Fishy and Andy to come into the pit lane and serve those pit stops. Of course, Andy has to serve a drive-through, but I think has one more lap to serve it. And of course, the VSC, I suspect, should delay that by another lap. He doesn't have to do it this lap, I don't think, anymore. With the VSC out, you can't serve it during the VSC, can you?
I don't think you can serve it under a VSC. Yes, so The gap is neutralised. Well,
We're going
it's got
racing.
back underway again. I wonder if Andy's going to keel in this time. No, he isn't. He's still got another 2 laps to serve that penalty. Risky's picked up a 3-second time penalty as well. And Machine Fishy is all over the back of Phil.
Will Mr. Chiapelli choose to let his teammate go? He knows his teammate's in the hunt for the championship. Mr. Chiapelli, it's not worth racing this. How racy will he get? Down the man, all over the back of Ginger Andy as Machine Fishy just 2 tenths back of Phil Bardwell. He's going to have a great chance to pass the Rebel driver in the background. Mr. Chiapelli is still holding off his team, and Matt Tibbles is not going to be a fan of this. He's going to want that Renault to be out of the way very quickly. Dan the man is about to pass Ginger Andy. Machine Fishy not quite close enough to Phil Bardwell, but Dan once again cannot get through on that McLaren. Ginger Andy is using his errs very wisely as Matt Tibbles still can't clear the Renault of Mr. Chiapelli. Mr. Chiapelli is racing him.
Yeah, he's defending really hard, Mr. Chiapelli. I don't see why, considering it's ruining Matt Tibbles' chance of getting a good result in this race. But luckily, he's got Andy in front of him, as Andy has now been passed by Dan just up the road. And Matt Tibbles must be so frustrated at his teammate right in front of him.
And Dan the man will now look to clear that. Machine Fishy sticking with Phil Bardwell, looking to keep very close to him. These drivers will stay out for 1 or 2 more laps, I suspect. Matt Tibbles has finally cleared.
He's finally let him go.
Matt Tibbles has finally cleared Mr. Chiapelli. Now he'll look to get past Andy as soon as he can. Dan the man did a great move by Andy round the outside. He clipped the wall. It was very close stuff. So nearly throwing all his hard work away. He's currently in a net P2. He can't throw away the points like Matt Tibbles did last time out. Matt Tibbles now, having cleared his teammate, will look to clear Andy. Andy has a drive-through penalty that he must serve this time anyway. Fishy, a 3-second time penalty is not going to help his chances of getting the race victory here. Sorry, he's got a pit anyway, hasn't he? Never mind. But Matt Tibbles loses the back end.
And Tibbles is back, Chiapelli's back past him again. That's a disaster for Renault. Luckily, I think Chiapelli's got the message this time round and let him straight back off.
But Con will go right outside of Mr. Chiapelli. Mr. Chiapelli then brake lane and almost tag his teammate, racing throughout the field here. Carl is just sitting back at the moment, making sure he doesn't get involved in any sort of incidents. Mr. Chiapelli racing with Con Hoffner. Con Hoffner will have a position here, surely. Mr. Chiapelli should let that one go. Now Carl, round the outside of him. Mr. Chiapelli is finding it hard to stay out on these medium tyres. Can he now defend from Carl, the Williams driver? Looking racy, the gap coming down. He's got to be careful not to bang wheels. They bang wheels, and Con Hoffner can see these two fighting. Here's scrap between Mr. Chiapelli and Carl, still side by side. They bang wheels again. They bang wheels again, and Luca is going to make more contact. That's going to allow Jay to go through round the outside, and Mr. Chiapelli is round. Mr. Chiapelli is round. That's not what he needed. He didn't need to race his drivers. I said, come into the pit lane, get some new tyres. There's no point being in this battle, and he's chosen to be in the battle. Now let's go to the front, because the top 3 separate by 6 tenths of a second.
Yeah, it is indeed. Like you were saying, Chiapelli did not need to race those guys as hard as Corey's got into the back of Machine Fishy.
Damage for the Mercedes driver. He's hit the back of Fishy. He didn't quite see the braking point of the Alfa Romeo driver. That's not what he needed. How big is the damage? Dan the man is just 2 seconds back from him. Corey seeming to struggle. He's not happy to have lost his front wing, but I think it's his own fault for getting too close, braking too late. It sucks you in, the car in front. You've got to be so careful, and you can see how much Corey is struggling now. Will Phil and Fishy choose to pit this time round and go on the soft tyres? No. To Corey's despair, they stay out for another lap, and now can Fishy repass Corey into turn 1, who himself picks up a time penalty. Dan the man can win this race from P4 at the moment.
Yeah, Dan the man is looking very healthy in this P4 for a race victory. He's closing in on the back of this battle between Corey, and Corey's got damage after ploughing into the back of Machine Fishy and actually getting past in the process. So it's a bit of a weird overtaking strategy by the Mercedes driver. It's worked, but not for long, as Machine Fishy is going to try and get him back in towards turn 7.
Corey just can't seem to catch a break this season. He won the first 2 races back to back. We thought this was going to be a long season. Corey hasn't won since. 14 rounds later, just can't seem to put it together. Something always goes wrong. Time penalty, spin, maybe a bit of incident with someone else, and unfortunately for him, it looks like he might just struggle to hold this on. He's got damage, but we don't know how much damage. Can that Mercedes get that car to the end? Can he stay 3 seconds clear down the man? Now carrying a time penalty, but you can see Fishy all over the back of Corey, and down the man, all over the back of Fishy. Fishy taps the wall. Has he got damage now himself?
Yes,
South driver. Seeing these drivers are struggling out there, this is good news. I guess for those behind, Matt Tibbles can now close down this gap that he has ahead. Con Hoffner 2 seconds back, the 2 Williams drivers, 7th and 8th.
Go around the outside of Machine Fishy through turn 14 and get the move done. He's up into P3 on the road, and that couldn't be a net P. Oh, it's P2, net P2 at the moment, as Tibos is let past by Fishy as well. So I think Fishy will probably come into the pit lane this time.
5 laps to go as Fishy has missed his braking point and he's going to have to do a full U-turn to get out of there. He's stuck He's gone down too deep, and that's his race over. He's got to pit, and he's now at the back of the pack anyway. So Corey leads this race. The gap is just 5/10 over his rival down the man. Matt Tibbles stays out. The front three in this race are separated by less than a second, with still 5 more laps to go. Con Hoffner now up to P4. He'll be there to pick up the pieces. Should these front three make any sort of mistake, this is going to be a great chance now for Dan to get on the back of Corey and make a move and maybe claim a third race victory of the season. All these front two drivers have 2 wins each this season. In fact, no, all the front three all have 2 wins each this season.
Yeah, heading down to round the Raffles Boulevard in towards turn number 7 now. They're going to be line astern through this section, so they're going to have to wait a little bit longer. The guy Dan and Matt and pass the guys in front.
Will we see Kyle let through by his teammates? We saw those two come to blows at Belgium, whether or not there'll be any sort of team orders there. Kyle, of course, is the championship leader, currently behind his teammate in P6. 2 points will be the difference if he can gain that place. And look at this down the man, all over the back of the Mercedes driver. Will he go for a move here? Corey looking to defend as late as he can, but this allows Matt Tibbles to now have a chance to attack himself on down the man. And he's going to have a better exit. He's going to have a better exit, and he's going to take the position. The Renault driver will take P2, and into second place he goes. Fantastic stuff. Matt Tibbles and Corey both carrying 3-second time penalties. Matt Tibbles, of course, getting his on the opening lap. So Kyle, currently P6, to actually gain 2 places as Corey chooses to pit from the lead. So he's coming to the pit there, and he thinks he can't hold on for 4 more laps. But why? Now he's going to get nothing. Why not stay out and risk it? Matt Tibbles promoted into the race lead. Dan the man into second, Con Hoffman into third, and the 2 Williams drivers elevated into 4th and 5th. Reigning TGP2 champion Con Hoffner is in P3, just 1 second off the race current leader. If Con Hoffner can clear down the man, he can win his first ever race in the top tier. This is thrilling stuff. Can Con become 10th winner of this season from 16 races? It's been a thrilling season throughout since we've been at the Australian Grand Prix 7 weeks ago. But Matt Tibbles for now holds on down the man, just 6/10 back, and then Con just 7/10 behind him. The 2 Williams drivers now starting to close the gap on that front 3. I think you're right. It's going to be P12 now. I know about, what, 16 seconds off Phil Bargel, who currently sits P10. Phil, I said, was it worth staying out? Well, he's going to score a point. Whether or not he could have scored more for coming in and going to the hard tyres, probably would have been in the same position, to be honest. So probably hasn't lost anything from staying out and having to everyone up front. But Matt Tibbles, for the first time, almost appearing to have the edge on down the man. Down the man probably knows he doesn't have to push. He doesn't need to really pass him on circuit with the 3-second time penalty he's carrying. But Kyle now less than a second behind J. Luke, so can he pass his teammate? Will he have to work for it to get through as Jack Hickey closes on the back of John too? But the Williams drivers, what will happen between these two now? Yeah, so J. Luke not making it easy, and of course Kyle will know that drivers ahead have time penalties, so if Kyle can clear J. Luke and just close to the back of them, he could in fact take the win himself. So whether or not the Williams team will order J. Luke to let his teammate through or not, we'll have to wait and see. But it is Matt Tibbles who leads this race with now 2.5 laps to go. Aidan Griffiths is into the points. We said he might not catch the pack, but he did manage to catch it just at the last second on those soft tyres, but dropping back. Whippity wop, flippity flop, swap. Kyle into P4. He has been passed by J. Luke. J. Luke, though, looking to come back at him, is he? Doesn't want to lose too much time. Okay, so Matt Tibbles leads this race from Dan the Man. Kong Hofner currently P3. Kyle P4 as Kyle, J-Luke, his teammate behind, almost loses the back end. So the Williams driver, they're not quite having the traction. I'm sorry, I think you may have lost Owen in the commentary. I think Owen will probably leave the party now and try and rejoin. Unfortunately, you're just hearing me, which I know is quite wonderful. So I'll stick with you for the last few minutes of this race. Still 2 laps to go here in this race. Matt Tibbles, I can hear you, Owen, but unfortunately the stream can't. Kong Hofner has passed down the man into P2, which could be a crucial winning manoeuvre. Is Kong carrying time penalties? Matt Tibbles, for now, in charge of this race, a second clear of Kong. Dan the Man is P3. But we believe that Kong does also carry a 3-second time penalty, so the front two both carrying time penalties. Kyle is 3.3 back from Dan the Man, so he will not gain on Kong and Matt Tibbles at the moment. He's not quite close enough to make the move. Dan the Man doesn't necessarily have to fight these two. With a lap and a half to go, he might still win this race despite crossing the line to take P3. So then, we are in the closing stages of this race. Matt Tibbles leads it still. We've got Dan the Man closing on Kong Hofner. In the background, Machine Fishy has passed Corey, who chose to pit again, maybe to try one more attempt at the fastest lap. Fishy currently holds that, but will not take the point for it as he is outside the top 10. No one will score the point here if you're outside the top 10. Waze Cooper and Ginger Andy all failing to score once again tonight, as is Mr. Chiapelli. But as we go on now to the final lap of this race, it's been a thrilling race, it's been a bloody long one. We've got a yellow flag in sectors 1 and 2, I think that might be for Corey. I think Corey may have just given up with this race, he's gone AI. So, one more lap here at the Singapore Grand Prix. Still 3 more weeks to come after this, 6 more races, and this 4-way title fight continues to entertain us. We've got Matt Tibbles, Dan the Man, Kyle and Corey all producing the goods throughout this season, winning no more than 3 races each. Matt Tibbles holding on 9 tenths clear of Kong Hofner. Dan the Man just 8 tenths back, the top 2 covered by less than 2 seconds. I don't think we're going to see a move between any of these drivers. Kyle has now managed to get under 3 seconds behind Dan the Man. Is that going to be close enough to gain from possible penalties towards the end of the race? Johners has gained 12 places. I suspect he's going to get driver of the day in TGB1 today, because that's a fantastic performance to go up from P18 on the grid, I think it was, he started, into 6th position. J-Luke settling behind his teammate, not necessarily raising him. We've got a yellow flag ahead of the leaders. That is just, I think, Machine Fishy making a mistake. You can see he'll pull out the way now, let these leaders through. Matt Tibbles will cross the line at least for now to take the race victory, but we suspect Dan the Man will take it at the end after time penalties. The Fly driver has not taken a penalty. Dan the Man will take a famous victory here at Singapore circuit. He really enjoys racing around. Matt Tibbles, though, has put in a faultless drive. The Renault driver has picked up where others made mistakes, and the Renault driver crosses the line. For now, he will take the race victory at Singapore. The fireworks flare. Kong Hofner stays behind him, and Dan the Man does go into P1 to take the victory. Dan the Man wins at Singapore to make up for that win many years ago when he gifted Jonas the victory, which is a silly move from Dan. But he finally gets that win here at Singapore. Jack Hickey finishes P7. Kyle did jump Jonas. Kyle jumped. Who was it he jumped? He jumped J-Luke in the end, was it? Oh no, he was P4. So Machine Fishy does not score points here, despite his victory last time out at Monza. Dan the Man, though, another brilliant victory from him. That is his 3rd of the season. A faultless drive from the Scouse driver. I think that is his 64th career victory, now just 1 behind Ben, just 6 behind the all-time greatest TGB1 winner in James O'Connor. Speed Iceman P8 will be happy with that. Phil Bardwell P9 in the Red Bull. Aidan Griffin's taking the final point in P10. Ginger Andy just missing out on the points by a single place as Corey looks for so long like he was going to win this one. In the end, scores nothing, not even the fastest lap, I don't think. Consolation prize for him. So an entertaining race here at Singapore. It's been another great night in TGB1. Be sure to join us as well tomorrow for TGB2. 3 weeks to go. confirmation that Jonas did get driver of the day here. Don't think that's any doubt about that. But yeah, tomorrow join us for Russia and Japan in TGP2. We've got a fantastic, thrilling four-way title fight in that league too, so be sure to join us there. We've got Alistair, Owen, Jordan and Kamababo all fighting for top success. But here at Singapore in TGP1, it's Dan the Man who takes a 64th career victory in TGP1. Another famous win for the Ferrari driver. And once again, he closes that gap on Kyle. 13 points taken out of his championship rival. Matt Tibbles will be satisfied somewhat with second, and Kong Hoffner, great to see him once again in the podium places. The reigning TGP2 champion holds that title for 2 more weeks at least before he hands it over to one of our new up-and-coming drivers. But confirmation that Dan the Man, your race victor here. Machine Fishy did take the fastest lap right at the end. But of course no one scores the point as he finished outside of the top 10. Well, a night it's been here in TGP1, Italy and Singapore. Fantastic racing throughout the last couple of hours. And we're back next week for Russia and Japan, so be sure to join us then next Tuesday at the same time. We'll see you then. Good night.